The Twilight Garage podcast is brought to you by The Red Onion, the Bay Area's finest hamburgers, located at 11900 San Pablo Avenue in El Chorrito. Tell them Twilight Garage sent you.
Oh, Twilighters, the dream has come true. You internet freaks, we're entering the modern world where stoner people are executives at snack companies and they do collaborations like put Dorito cheese on some obscene chip you'll never have fucking seen, like a Funyun, right? We're doing that for you live and crazy direct with our dearest friend, Mr. Stoner Van Houten, who's visiting with my dear co-host, one of my best pals here, Mr. Casey Fields, here on Twilight Garage. We want to welcome you, Stoner.
What's going on, man? It's great to be here, man. You guys are doing a great job. Casey, what's happening, man?
Good to see
this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Super excited. Like I said, I think this is just the ultimate collaboration. Stoner, before we get started, I want everyone to understand my love and extreme great feelings for you. All your generosity and kindness over the years. You met me. We got along great. You trusted me. You put me on the fucking game, and I'll never forget it. I'll always love you for that. And just so honored to carry on what you were teaching me from the beginning, which was to remember this is fun. This is what we're doing after work. It can take over a little bit, but don't let it take you over. So thank you for all of that. Stoner, you're just wonderful. And we really appreciate you here at Twilight Garage.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that, man. That's fucking. And I'm just glad that you guys are you guys are taking off. And, and you get more and more subscribers every single day. And you guys are just doing great, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, man.
I've always thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was cool, man, how channels kind of helped bring you into this whole online thing. And now you
I owe everything to channels. No,
exactly.
I
think the whole mentorship thing is really part of this thing. If you're going to do it right, anything that you love, you need a mentor. You've got channels. I'm hoping to meet him. He's got crazy content. I love all the videos he's got parked up there for us. So fucking cool to just flip through some of his stuff. Some people dig his philosophical writing. It's pretty interesting.
He's actually a very good writer.
Yeah. Well, I just love that you've been able to stand by him this whole time, dude. It's just a testament to your character. And for you, you've set the example for me. Like you said, hey, if someone has beef over here, that's fine. Doesn't mean I have beef as well. I can love everyone. And then I've seen you do that and interestingly be Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people get their shit together. But if Stoner had taken a side, guess what? The beef couldn't go away, right? But because you were neutral, and then everyone got on the same page, I've heard
the only time, I think the only time where it ever got to a point where I had to take sides is right when Manson passed away. And that was the trick part, was that where you team Jason Friedman or you team Michael Channels. And I'm like, look, man, I'm friends with everybody because I know Jason Friedman. I would talk to him on the phone, and this is while Manson was alive, by the way. So we were actually friends. And then when it came to choosing sides, I said, look, man, I like everybody. I don't have a problem with anybody. But if I have to, if you're going to make me and force me, then yes, I'm going to take Team Channels because Mike's the one that brought me in and helped me. So I'm not going to, if it wasn't for Mike, I wouldn't have been able to then go on and meet mansonblog.com and then meet George and then go on to meet Sandy and so on like that. So it really led to a lot, man. But you're right, though. The mentor thing was the main thing. And that's what Mike was. But Mike also said this, though. Mike also said this real quickly. Quickly. Mike also said this. He also said, hey, man, Stoner, you seem like a great guy, but I guarantee in about 2 or 3 years from now, you'll probably get burned out on this, just like a lot of people do. Now, I'm going on this November will be 14 years now being on YouTube and involved in this.
Wow.
And he's blown away that I've actually been involved this entire time, because anyone else that I guess maybe he tried to mentor or, was friends with, and they thought they were into this stuff. Yeah. A couple years of it. And then they just blew it off and then they didn't care anymore. And he thought I was going to be one of those guys.
you're on it every single day, and sometimes twice a day with 14 years. Unbelievable.
Well, I think the thing with him, Stoner in the third person to talk about you, I love it because my friendships growing up in Ridgecrest, we were so desolate. Everything from me, we had 24 hours on like the television. We had the radio. So it was KLOS, your ABC affiliate. I loved my DJs. And that's how I think of Stoner. He is like the ultimate DJ. It's of course you've got the whole hey baby. The Wolfman Jack thing is the obvious deal. But
here's what I bring to the table.
You're the MC of this whole world. And I love that for you.
I think you're absolutely right, man. But the reason, look, one of the reasons why a lot of people won't, and we talked about this earlier, about one of the reasons why a lot of people have a problem with me or maybe irritated by me is because, and it's what Casey said earlier, is that I go on all the time. See, nobody's used to, whoever's in this Manson community, they're not used to one individual going live. At one time, I was going live twice a day, every day in the morning and in the afternoon. Now I've just cut it down. Now I'm 55 now. Now I cut it down just to once a day, but I'm live every day. And I'm calling out everything I see. And there's nobody that does what I do. That's the difference. Nobody does what I do. I'm constantly keeping up with exactly what's going on. And if I see something out of the ordinary, I will call it out. And then I'll make a video. I'll do this. I'll get people to watch. I will get people's attention. Trust me. So
you've gotten me sometimes. I'll read something on Cielo Drive. I find out some news just dropped. Sure enough, by that afternoon, I'm tuning into your show, trying to get your take on it.
Absolutely. To that point, yesterday, I was out cutting some tile. I'm remodeling the kitchen, and my phone buzzed, and I got to hear your update about the estate. Charles Manson's estate. And hey man, I love it. I just love that you're just kicking ass and still doing it. So, and again, that's one more point in Michael Channel's favor is that, hey man, without Michael, God bless it, there'd be no Stoner, and without Stoner, there'd be no Twilight. So
amen.
The yellow brick road keeps flowing. And if I've got some crazy fantasies, Stoner.
And also, there would be no Paul Cass, by the way. I mean, that show spawned from, no pun intended, that spun from my show. Look, Paul Cass and Danny After Dark, they used to be regular people in my chat room. And I would always tell people, look, they used to be regular people in my chat room. And I would tell everybody, look, you guys, look, not just them, but anybody out there should do a show on this. And they decided to take it on themselves. And this is before she has her show, Danny After Dark, before Paul Cass. There was none of that. They were just regular people in my chat room, and they decided to take it on, and they did a great job. We had a little bit of
their production.
Right. Now we had a little bit of a falling out. And unfortunately, me and Paul and Danny After Dark, we're not friends anymore. But I still promote Paul. I still promote Paul's show. I think he's doing a great job over there. What happened between us has happened. It's over. And there's no look. I can only say I'm sorry so many times, and that's just the way it is. But that doesn't mean that he's not doing a great job over there. He is, and he really is. And after that last interview he did with Anthony DiMaria, Jay Sebring's nephew, that was fantastic.
Right.
I mean, that was absolutely fantastic, man. So he's heading in that other direction. But remember, he's riding on a fence where if you notice that he used to do shows where he'd have like a Manson poster in the background and stuff. Now he can't do that. You can't show favoritism to one side like he was, because if you're interviewing Anthony DiMaria, you can't have what you see behind me now. I can do this because this is what my show is. His show is not like that. It's getting and that's fine. Like I said, I'm the MC of the community. I see what everybody's doing and I'll report it daily. And this is one of the things you can't get past me, where you could before. If I was not doing this, everybody who was in this community could say whatever they want and never be called out on their shit, unless you guys did a show and called them out. Because if I see it, I'm called out every fucking day, every single day. If I see something out of the ordinary,
live and direct, it's Stoner Van Houten. We go live to you, Stoner. I love that you're out there doing that. Because yesterday, like I say, I'm out here, y'all. It's my first time doing a tile job, so I'm enjoying it, right? I'm laying the thing out. I'm getting the grid figured out. I start it, and then I'm like, shit, right? So I got to take some of it up because it's going to drive me crazy not being quite right. So I'm doing all this and thinking I'm all in my head, and then I get the buzz. Boop. So I got to take a little break. I put you on speaker, and it was so much fun listening to you yesterday. So I really appreciate that. And back to Anthony DeMuro. Tell me, just in a couple of broad strokes, because we've been going over Helter Skelter. We're pretty early on still with the murders, and we have some questions about Jay. And did you feel you got more insight, or do you just feel maybe you just got some character sympathy? What was your takeaway?
Well, okay, I never actually thought any of those things about Jay. I actually thought Jay did fight Tex Watson. I didn't think he was a coward. I didn't think he was a racist. I didn't think, well, the drug dealer part is questionable, but the way I look at it now is like, look, Anthony DeMuro is just trying to change the perspective of Jay Sebring. That's all it is. He's just trying to, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If we come out now. Right, there's nothing wrong with that. So if we come out now and we find out, oh, hey, Jay actually fought, Tex and did the best he could, and he did this and he did that. But in the end, like he says in the interview, he said Jay was a hero. Now, really, technically, not really a hero because heroes don't die. Heroes usually win. They save the girl and stuff like that.
Recently. So I was like,
he was very brave. Wow. He was extremely brave. He was extremely brave to fight for the woman he loved, and that was it. And so what Anthony DeMuro is doing, I have no problem with. He just wants to change the narrative of how people perceive Jay Sebring. And he thinks that people look at him as being a drug dealing, coward, racist, which simply is just not true. And we can question the drug dealing part. Okay. And the drug dealing part's really not that hard to understand.
Who cares?
He's just a middleman. Look,
it's
the same thing with me.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
So
It doesn't really matter.
Dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Because let me just say this. Remember, if they never died, if they never got killed, then nobody would care that Jay Sebring sold cocaine, had sex with minors, or did all these things. It's when they die, you never want to bring up those things because it kind of looks like you're downplaying the victim. So it's hard to bring up some of the things that some of these victims were doing.
If he was living, he'd be a fucking rock and roll
living his life. And he's Hollywood. He can do those things, right? So if he never dies, well, then it's okay that you did all those kinky, weird things. But now that you're dead, well, we can't bring those things up because we have to make you look like the most innocent person there was. And you went to church every week and you were just a good person. It's like, stop it.
Dude, hold up, Stoner. Hold up. I love that. This is the kind of shit you're only going to get from Stoner. And dude, people, wait in, watch his show, listen to him because, man, that is such great insight. Your time in the case, that's fucking great insight. And here's the other thing people forget, bro. Sebring was a smaller dude. What was Sebring's trip? It wasn't to be brash. It was to be classy. It was to wear Rolexes. It was to have a Porsche. It was to have soft hands, good coke, fine bitches, and fucking do the shit you want to do around the world with the coolest people. You're hanging out with Steve McQueen on any Sunday, Steve McQueen? Are you fucking kidding me? He lives around the corner on Solar Drive. They're hanging out doing the coolest shit ever. He's not about fighting. The guy hasn't been.
He's about Flash. He's about Flash.
Right.
Dude,
and he's small, whereas you've got Tex, who played football, who'd been a younger brother. Let me tell you something about younger brothers. You're not afraid to get your ass kicked. I don't know how older brothers are. Younger brothers spend the majority of their youth getting their ass handed to them. So when you go to school and somebody tries to beat you up, you're like, bitch, is that all you got?
Well, Stoner, you made a good point the other day. I was watching your show and you said people don't realize how amped up Tex was.
Oh my god,
he showed up there with adrenaline going, high as fuck on drugs, like ready to get down and dirty, you know.
And Jay was the opposite.
Jay's sitting on the corner of a bed talking to
a
woman that he loves. Yeah.
Possibly smoking a doobie, possibly smoking a doobie.
They were fucking smoking a fatty, laying back.
Well, I don't think Sharon would smoke. I don't think that.
I don't either. I think
she was pregnant.
I believe that to be true as well.
And I know the coroner wrote, I think in his book he wrote like there was marijuana in her system, and then Deborah Tate got mad about that shit. Whether or not that's true, I have no idea, but I think that's what he wrote in his book.
Too is,
it could have been a contact high. Who the fuck cares?
According to the coroner's report, Jay actually weighed the least out of all of them.
That's what I'm saying.
Abigail weighed the most. Second was Sharon, then Wojtek, and then Jay. So he was a small guy.
Right. Do you believe coming up against Tex, who's ready? He just killed a guy. He just killed an innocent person. Him and Sadie and fucking Linda been high for 3 days on methadone, which is, hey, you know what? Speed has changed a lot over the years. The speed I did in the 80s isn't the speed they do now, which probably isn't the speed they were doing. No telling how they were feeling, right?
Right.
So they're doing their business. What I liked that Shrek said, to the point, I know you like Shrek a lot, the violence, the repetitive motion, all that stuff speaks to speed. Like you were saying last week, another thing you get dinged on. Well, I like Stoner, but he doesn't know the case. Dude, the knife wound width was the business. People never look at that. You see Abigail with her little intestine popped out in the oh, dude, I was looking at garbage people over here last night. Man, those autopsy photos are such a fucking bummer. And then what do you think about the two? Are those slashes on Sharon's face, or what the fuck is that on her left cheek? Is that two cuts? Or what is that? Yeah. Or is that just blood?
I don't know. Abigail had the big one.
She had the gnarly one, and then this one under. She had three big ones.
You're talking about Abigail.
Right, but I know, Sharon had two streaks at least in the photo.
I don't know. I don't think Sharon had anything.
I haven't seen her autopsy photo, just the death photo.
Sharon didn't have any kind of cuts on her face. She just had some marks on her neck from somebody looks like they were trying to hold her down. Maybe and on her ankles the same way too. Maybe their nails kind of scratched them or something like that.
That's why I think it was. I think Linda and Susan held her down.
It's always easy in hindsight to say what we would have done, right? I mean, I wish that Jay would have taken his stand when Susan came into the room with that knife, at least taken one of them out before Tex had a chance to come down that hallway,
Well, that was the huge fantasy that.
But see, that's the thing.
There was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right?
That's the only thing, though. That's only if you're going by the way that the prosecution says. Now, this is what we should talk about right here. Let's just think about this for 1 second. If you go by what the prosecution says on the way they entered the house, so Tex comes in through the window. He's in through the window, then he opens up the front door, and then when he sees Borkowski on the couch, and he's like, "Who are you? I'm the devil here to get devil's business." So he tells Sadie to go in and go get everybody, and she brings them into the living room. Now, think about this. Now they're all in the living room, right? Mm-hmm. So then he tells Sadie to tie up Borkowski with a towel, which I think is just ridiculous. So think about this. Once all hell breaks loose, somehow Jay and Tex start fighting. And I think that's where it starts, is that fucking Tex is going to somehow manhandling Sharon. And that's what triggers Jay to attack. That happens first.
I think you're right.
And then
I think you're right.
So then now you have that happening, and then now you have Sadie and Vortek doing their thing, and then Abigail and Patricia doing their thing. Now, Jay gets shot. He's down on the ground. Sharon is where she is. You have Abigail and Patricia doing their thing. She goes out the back door, and now I guess Vortek goes out the front door, right? Okay, something like that. I think that's right.
Yeah,
he goes now. Right. Think about that. He goes out the front door, and then she goes out the top. Now, wait a minute. If all that actually really did happen, then how did we get all this blood at the front door? Because that's almost impossible. It's almost impossible that all that actually happened Because then wait a minute, because even if Vortek runs out the front door, he would have to stop and literally squeeze out a bunch of blood because he's running out. There's not enough time for him to leak that much. Something happened at the front door that nobody wants to talk about, some altercation, because you can't have that much blood in front of that front door with the original scenario that I just told you. So if everyone's brought into the living room and then now Tex fights Sebring, he shoots him, this and that. Susan's fighting fucking Vortek. Then you have Abigail fighting fucking Krenwinkel. That's all kind of going. Now, she runs out the back door. Abigail, what happens with Vortek? He runs out the front. Then what happens with the blood? Was the blood there before? Or did it go there later? So it seems to me the official narrative can't go along. The official narrative never mentions the blood at the front door.
I just always assumed, honestly, this is a great point. I just chalked it up to Wojtek and Tex tangling, because remember, it was Susan, help, right? That allegedly happened. Help me. So what I assumed was a lot of the shanking was happening on the front porch. I figured when she was stabbing him in the legs and all that shit, it just got misspoken, and some of that happened on the front porch. And then Tex showed up with the bayonet and went to work on the front porch. And by the time they got onto the lawn, it was just finishing work, and maybe they didn't remember it all the same. And then fuck the story, who really cares, because they're going to go to jail either way. So why freak out on the narrative? Because the more you argue with it, the less you're going to get paroled, right?
Right, but I think Brian Davis actually brought this up when he brought this up. When they examined the blood type, it wasn't Vortek Verkowski's. It was actually Sharon and fucking Jay Sebring's, I believe.
Well, do you think that was accurate, though, or do you think that just got placed?
Well, I mean, okay, yes or no, is there blood at the front porch? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of blood.
So whose is it? It's somebody's. So it's a fact. Everybody wants. We want facts. We want receipts. We want to make. If somebody says it's something here, then it must be real here. Look, there's blood at the fucking front door. No ifs, ands, or buts. Nobody really wants to discuss, except for Brian Davis, on how that actually got there. Now, he did a show called the Blood Map Theory, which I thought was pretty good. There was a couple holes in it, but still, it wasn't bad. It's not on YouTube anymore, which sucks. But it wasn't, at least he was trying to explain how that got there. So I'm just wondering, like, how did it get there? And why did not know? And how come people didn't walk through it?
Like, there was a bunch of blood too out on the sidewalk going out towards the garage as well. We have blood that was even found on the faucet to the hose outside. How did that get there? There's little spots of blood around the pool area going the direction. Yeah. Yeah, where Abigail was killed.
Could be Abigail. I mean, that to me could be Abigail, because she ran out the back where the pool would have been. She ran out that's where the pool is. So it could have been her technically. But I think
you're right, like, how did Sharon and Jay's blood get outside?
That's right. I've never been satisfied with that. I don't understand. Was it because then you say, so are you suggesting perhaps, Stoner, because you had some interesting things we'll get to later about the LaBiancas, which you just blew my hair back with that last year. But in the meantime, do you have any thoughts about how that might have got there? Do you think there was an alternative explanation to Texas entry?
Yes, that's the whole thing. And this is where that episode of the Blood Map Theory comes in, is that what Brian was basically trying to say, and what I believe too, is that, and a lot of people is that Stephen Parent wasn't killed first. That's the thing. People, if you're really going with the narrative, some people just don't believe Stephen Parent was actually killed first. Now,
okay, we're gonna pull up right here and acknowledge this source right here. Okay, what we're talking about here, viewers of Twilight, is there was an excellent show known as TLB Radio. A guy named Brian Davis is his nom de plume. Really,
Tana Laufenberg.
Really well put together show. I came to it pretty late. Very informative, very exciting show. And so this was one of the episodes we're referring to. You can't find it on YouTube at this time.
Yeah, I know.
If Tana will get us a link and put it back up, I love the way he speaks. I love his whole thing. He's not a reliable guy. He'll turn on you and get crazy. So to the viewers who don't know, that's why sometimes you hear about him and don't hear about him. Me personally, love the show. I think he brought a lot. I think there was some anger and drama we could do with that, which Stoner, somewhat Paul Cast, definitely George Stimson, and a lot of us are trying to do, which is let's forget that. Let's not get personal. Let's never be ugly. Let's never say things that we wouldn't say in polite company to each other in front of our families. Okay. Because, hey, we're adults. This is a luxury to be here together. And anything less than that is a waste of our fucking time and an insult to our lives. So I think that's what you're bringing. And I'm going to take that fine advice from you, Stoner, and I appreciate it. And I hope in the spirit of togetherness, I'd love to see TLB and us do something in the future because those guys. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. That's good. Yeah, that's going to be tough because Brian. I mean, it would be cool and all, but Brian's going to be tough because Brian looks like he wants to retire. I think he's like a lot of. I mean, he barely does shows like he used to, and it's like he's just kind of. He almost feels like he's kind of fed up with the whole situation. But going back to his show really quick, I don't want to get off the subject real quickly. But basically, the whole premise of that show, right? And this is why I wish we could watch it because he's basically saying that there was another scenario to the whole thing, and that is that. Basically, Tex just went to the front door. He didn't actually come in and sneak. He actually just went to the front door.
That makes no sense.
And like knocked, right? And like knocked on the door. And here comes, I probably either, let's just say Sharon or Jay. They both, like Jay's at the front door talking to him. And then, Sharon comes up behind him. Somehow they're at the front door talking at first before things really hit before the shit hits the fan, you might say. But
that makes
but you have
Garrison,
and then you have Garrison and Parent visiting in the back. Now Parent's leaving. Parent's in the process of actually leaving while they're still talking at the door. Now, this is what basically Brian says is somehow between the time Parent leaves the guest house to get to his car, there is something going on that Parent sees and says, "Oh shit, I want to get in the car," and he gets in the car, but one of the girls like, "Hey, he's getting out of here." Now remember, there's evidence to show that he backed his car up into the rail. So it wasn't like
that makes way more sense than popping him. They could have just hid in the bushes.
And there's also an altercation. There's an altercation. He puts his hand up. He gets his watch cut off. He's trying to defend himself. Now, basically what happens is that the girl, like it was probably Linda or somebody was probably the one with the knife, possibly, but they couldn't do anything. So they call for Tex, but Tex is at the front door. He ends up stabbing both Sharon and Jay. They don't die, but he stabs them enough to where they get hurt.
Why there's the blood?
Kind of takes care. Then he kind of goes back and takes care of Parent, and then comes back. And that's kind of like the premise that Brian was going on the scenario that it just wasn't Parent. I mean, technically, Parent still could be killed first because you know what I mean. But not in the sense of where they came over the fence and then said halt and then just shot him. More in the sense that he just happened to see what was going on and then was leaving in the process, and then they stopped him from leaving.
Yeah, hold up. And Mr. Receipts over here needs a little confirmation here. We need a kachunka from the Stoner. But what I'm thinking is, I see that happen. Remember on George's show when they were talking about the blood trails between the living room and the porch?
Yes.
It didn't look like drags. It looked like, because I've bled heavily, as some of you, our viewers have, where you're running and there's a good bunch of blood. And you're like, Jesus, how is this much coming out of me? So you think about the way it trails, it looked more like that than a drag. So what you're telling me, which is, this is all news to me. This is what I'm willing to admit too. Constant updating of the information. So that makes a lot of sense because I never was going for cutting the screen. The door wasn't going to be locked. They're not going to cut a screen. Tex knows the place. Been there a million times. He was there before Wojtek probably was ever. Felt way more entitled. He's walking up the driveway, sizing up who's there by the cars. right?
And there's a reason, right? So
He's
that's
ready to
basically
fucking go. Okay, I
he's ready.
like
He's ready to
that.
go. And that's
So
basically
then
Brian's premise on
he
that.
lays
And that
into fucking Jay and them, so that they run in. That makes way more sense than pull him out of the back bedroom.
because what
And
Brian
then
was also saying was that
right.
real quick, another thing that Brian was saying was also that most of that blood that's out there is Jay's blood. So he leaked most of it out there because when you look where Jay's body was left on the living room, how come he's not in a massive pile of blood? You would have thought if he was killed there, he would have leaked out there and been in a huge pile of blood. But he's in a little tiny pile of blood, but a lot of his blood's on the front porch. Most of it's on the front porch.
To that point, again, here's the receipts. Here's the cross-examination. George and other people talked about both that. I was just listening to the coroner's reports. Thank you, Cielo Drive, Mr. Bo Emerson, our dear friend. So
yeah, good dude.
what was being said was about the various blood types was that there was the death by exsanguination, which would support what you're saying because there was not near enough. I'm looking at the autopsy photos. Jay looks the fucking worst. He looks his rigor mortis, like he is fucked up, curled up, like he took an ass whooping. Like
his face was busted, right? His nose was broken.
Man, just his body though. If you look at their posture, we have Abigail Folger, who y'all, if you haven't seen, if you haven't seen those photos, like get ready because they always give me a little jolt when I look at them.
I just think Jay did the best he possibly could against somebody.
He did.
He did.
No,
he
got
but he just
fucked up, dude.
He got his ass kicked. He did, yeah.
And fucking Texas big.
I disagree only because I think he should have taken that knife away from Susan.
Whatever, dude. He's all freaked out. He's high. He's hanging out like, hey, baby, are you the hookup? What's going on? You got Wojtek shit? What's going on? Because what if the candy man was just a little late? Right? What if the dope was supposed to be there? What if what they were supposed to take?
Or maybe, how about this? This is all hypothetical, by the way. Or maybe, how do we not know that Tex did not hurt Sharon, or maybe poke her didn't kill her, but like poke her with the knife? And he's like, and then that triggers that inner rage.
Yes.
Look,
yeah,
there's going to be something going to trigger Jay, where Jay's going to see red, and he don't give a fuck because he probably might think we're probably going to die anyway. Who knows? So he's like, I mean, it's better to die. Stand up and fucking fight like a man than fucking bow down like a pussy. And Jay wasn't going to do that.
Here's the other thing too.
And he stood up there and he did the best he could, but it just wasn't that good enough.
You don't really even think like that because it's just hardwired. People talk about muscle memory. I've been in a shootout and that shit is real because my whole life I was doing this shit. In the moment, there was no.
But that's a girl, man. Just imagine if that's your wife or something. Of course, you're going to do it. Your kids or whatever. You're going to, go ahead.
Just real quick. Here's what happens. To believe what we're saying. Okay. We're repeating what you're saying now, which I think is making sense. Okay. We've got the door. It's probably ajar, right? So then you've got Jay like, hey, what the fuck's going on? Because they probably come at the same time. She opens the door, was like, hey, right? He starts pushing his way in. Well, guess what? You're in between everybody. You're jammed up. You've got Jay here, and you've got Herb and the door behind you. He just bucks up and does what he's got to do, taking shots from a fucking bayonet. I don't know if you guys have ever handled a bayonet. I have extensively. They have blood gutters on them. They have a whole lot. They are designed to kill you by running through your body. That's all they're good for. You can't use them for a knife. They're fucking useless. They're a big fucking heavy hunk of shit designed to run through your body. He lays into a chick who's pregnant, like, hey, baby, I can't. Dude, you just light up. Jay was on nothing but adrenaline. He gets lit up. He's going to be squirting blood everywhere. I like this theory.
Here's also another thing. But see, that's the thing. It's a theory. And when you answer, when anybody asks you a question about anything that has to do with the Manson case, the one thing you have to look at is, how am I answering this? Am I answering this from the goodbye helter skelter theory, or am I answering this from the Manson file drug theory? Because think about this for 1 second.
Right.
If you look at it from the way what Shrek said in the Manson file, well, then Tex Watson knows JC Ring, and he also knows Vortek, and he got ripped off about maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks before the incident even happened. So definitely Tex is going back for some payback. So if he does meet him at the front door,
that may be true as well. Yeah.
Right. So if he does meet him at the front door, and Jay's talking to him, and he's like, "Hey man, look, I want my fucking money back, this and that, blah blah blah," and then all of a sudden Sharon comes up behind him, not knowing what's going on. What's going on, honey? And oh, I got it, honey. I got it, don't worry about it. But Tex is at the front door going, "Look, man, I have a gun. Where the fuck's my money? You just ripped this off. That's why I'm back here. I am back here for my money." So that's why I think there could be. I think it's just a matter of whether or not people believe Tex knows Jay or not, and that's where the two different theories. This is where in Nicholas Shrek, George Simpson, Nicholas Shrek, George Simpson. This is where this comes in. So it just depends on which book we're reading.
But between us, we weren't there. Whatever. Okay, this is all conjecture on the part of some friends bullshitting. Okay, we're talking about the great Stoner Van Houten, Spawn Ranch worker, and the Twilight Garage. Do you feel there's any reasonable way that Tex wouldn't have known Jay?
Given that wouldn't have known him?
Yeah, come on, they had to have known each other, right?
No, I think they would have known each other because they're hanging out in the same place, the same club, Hollywood. There's only so many places on the Sunset Strip you can go to. Whether or not you go to the Roxy, the Whiskey, or whatever the clubs were called at the time, you're going to eventually run into somebody that knows some. Yes, I see it's probable. The probability of them knowing each other is very high because Hollywood was where all the action was. So you're going to go.
Been in town for 2 years, and they were mixing and shaking it up in that same circle. They were up in the canyon. They knew the Beach Boys. They knew the Mamas and the Papas.
And Texas got the wig shop that's the front. Texas got. He's working at a wig shop that's the front. He's working. So maybe that could be the connection that gets him to Jay, but not knowing that it's going to. But whatever he's working for at that wig shop could be a bigger entity. And next thing you know, it just leads to Jay. I mean, look, the point of selling dope is that you want everyone to know that you have it, so that way you get rid of it. You don't want to sit on it. You want to get rid of your dope as fast as possible. So you want everyone to know about it. So you're going to do your best. You're sitting on a kilo. I'm going to go up and down the strip all night long, letting people know, look, if you need something, here we go. So yes, eventually I think, yes, they would have definitely known each other and ran into each other for sure.
Okay. So that's when people think that they're not connected, I find that ridiculous. I mean, we had Tex taking Melcher's Jaguar all the way up to Ukiah, right?
Yep.
And come on, we don't know each other. So I think
it's kind of ridiculous how people think, well, if they don't know each other, that's the random house they're going to pick. I've been to Cielo Drive. I don't know if you've ever been there, but for anyone who doesn't know the area and you're just going to pick that area because you've never been there and it's a random house, that seems a little bit weird that you just happen to pick that house.
Yeah,
that's just random.
Absolutely not random.
No, you've been there. You've had to have been there before.
Yeah,
you've had to have been there before.
Gnarly cul-de-sac way the hell up there. Well, if you ever talk to any type of criminologist, this is why I'm a really, really successful street racing motorcycle guy. Psychologically, criminals always go downhill. They never go up.
This is on the top of the hill.
Why would they go the fuck uphill?
Because they've been there before.
This whole Stephen Parent thing is very interesting. I think the exsanguination had to have happened there on the porch. There is no fucking puddle in the living room. The carpet would have been fucking absolutely saturated with his blood, with as much activity as happened. Clubbed over the head.
Yeah.
Shot, stabbed, beaten, very excited state. There would have been blood fucking everywhere. So I think
let me just say this. If you look at the defensive,
I met through this other trial, he's actually a doctor and he is the leading blood pathologist, forensic guy in the country. He trains the FBI forensics people how to do their job. And he told me, he said, you get me all the pictures of the crime scene. He's like, I will give you a breakdown using our modern techniques of what I believe happened there. He said, I'll look at all the blood spatter evidence. So I said, this is going to have to be an hour
Okay.
show.
No. Okay, wait. Wait, I want to clarify something here. Now, on the Brian Davis show, on the Brian Davis, you know what? You're right, David. We need to talk to Tanya and or Brian and just say, can you please upload that show, please? Please.
Love, yeah.
It needs to be uploaded. Okay, so here's the one thing they did. Here's what they did during the show. I forgot to tell you. They actually superimposed Jay Sebring's body on the front porch, and it lines up.
See,
I'm not kidding. It lines up perfectly to somebody lying on the ground.
Like that, maybe it was borrowed.
And they did that. They actually did that.
Fucking sense. That makes a lot of sense.
It was
so
pretty
maybe
good.
He went down and then got up and ran into the living room.
Hey, before we get going, I want to ask you this, Stoner.
We're gonna come back.
In your opinion, do you think that Charlie came to the scene with like a cleanup crew? And do you think that he moved any bodies?
Okay, that's so funny about that, though, because, I've heard everything about that. I've heard Shrek talk about what he told me on a cell phone late at night that he went back, and I've heard other people know. I would think if Charlie was actually a very good criminal, and some people think he's not, and I don't think he was that good. I mean, the pimp part, okay, and he could steal some cars, are a big deal. But I would think that if you'd be smart enough to know, don't go back. Never go back, dude. Don't leave. So if they did go back, here's the one thing that just blows my mind. If they did go back, how come there's just no more footprints? How could they be so clean? So you're saying after everybody that trampled through there, the only footprint we have is Susan Atkins barefoot. That's it. But nobody else is. But they went back and they moved bodies and they left the glasses and they moved the trunk and they did all these things. Really? But no footprints? Man, were they extra careful? No, I don't think they went back. No fucking. I don't believe that. Even though Shrek will say no.
Look at the time. They don't have the time to do it. And then,
but I will say this. I will say this. If you look at the interview with the neighbor, Richard Potts or Motts, whatever his name is, one thing that he says that's a little bit suspicious is that he says there was a lot of traffic that night, more than usual. People going up and down, up and down, up and down. That was the only thing I thought. That's one thing I just thought, like, he's not going to lie. He's the neighbor. And he's like, well, they had more traffic that night than usual. Yeah. But other than that, though, it was very quiet. I didn't hear a party.
Well, like I said, what if the candy man came up 15 minutes after they left and was like, oh, fuck. Damn. Shit, we got to go. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Or maybe they just pulled up and saw the cut telephone lines were like in the fucking car. And they had a flashlight.
One of the neighbors did come home, and one of the neighbors did come home. Another woman who you can look at the interview and see, she came home and said the one thing she noticed is that their light was off. They have that one light at the gate that's like the only light up there. Right. And she noticed that when she got up, that was off. And so that was off, and she thought that was a little strange, but she still went in the house, and didn't think anything of it. So and she got home, she said, a little bit after 1.
Yeah,
that's just a little bit after 1.
Oh, baby. The thing I want to return to, though, when we come back with the next episode in Stoner, is we're going to get back to the blood. I like this different alternate theory that Brian Davis has gifted us with. Thank you, TLB Radio. I want to think about the scene. I want to talk about this excitement level and these various people's actions, and I want to walk through a couple very specific things that I think you know quite a bit about, Stoner. So really glad you joined us. We're going to get real specific next year on Twilight Garage with our dear friend, the original Spawn Ranch worker. And let me tell you something. When we say Spawn Ranch worker, we mean that most sincerely. He got the name because he was out there doing it for years, taking care of the original Spawn Ranch property near Chatsworth, California, there in the Santa Susana.
Let me say something really funny, embarrassing about that is I found you about 10 years ago, your channel, and for probably about 2 years, I actually thought you worked for the Parks District as a professional cleaning up Spawn Ranch.
You know,
I thought you were an
that's kind of funny that you
employee,
say.
man.
That's kind of funny that you say that. I actually had some people in the very beginning thinking that I actually did work for the Park Service. That is kind of fun. I'm like, no, 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 no. I do not work. I mean,
Dude, all
you
you have
can
to do is
volunteer.
just
You can volunteer to work for the Park
wear
Service,
the
but I
hat,
never did.
bro.
Yeah,
Just
I just
wear
went
that
down there and
hat,
just started
homie.
doing those things myself. Yeah.
But
All
to
right,
our
guys, I love it, man.
viewers-
This is great.
Yeah, to our viewers, to the point. That's how Stoner got to be Stoner. There's some people that he's very close with who are wonderful folks deep in the circle of this whole story who acknowledged him and reached out to him. And that's how he came into this wonderful picture. And we thank you.
Before we go, make sure to shout out your channel real quick.
Please like and subscribe.
Yes, please like and subscribe my channel, man. It is called the Spawn Ranch Channel 2011. I do live shows every single day around 5 p.m. on the West Coast. And also, really quickly, I am having a raffle to raise money for an event called Family Jams Day, which is an event I've been doing now the last 8 years, which is people just like us. But instead of meeting here on the Zoom and everything, we actually meet together in a park, and we have food and we have bands playing, and we have
Stoner,
just, a good time. It's a great time. It really is a great time, man.
Can you tell us about some of these? You've had some really amazing guests in the past that I think really might blow some of our viewers' minds. Can you tell us about some of these guests, man? Because it's pretty cool what you're doing.
Oh, I've had people on, man. I've had Lynette Fromey on my show. I've interviewed her. I've had Michael Bruner on my show. I've actually had
at Family Jams physically.
Oh, at Family Jams.
Yeah.
Oh, not just on my. Oh, at Family Jams, man.
Didn't you have Michael Bruner?
No. At Family Jams one year, we had Michael Bruner, Daniel Arguelles, and we also had granddaughter. Those are all Manson's children. They were all there last year. Dude, last year we had Sherry Curry of the Runaways there singing, singing Cherry Bomb. If you guys know the Runaways from the 70s. And we had Sherry Curry there, and she was jamming with Chuck Chapman, who also will be. So she performed last year. Michael Channel showed up. We got John S. Nils, if you know who he is, he shows up.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that's in this community, and I've invited every single year, George.
I heard Michael
Channel
showed up last year. Michael Channel,
and he loved it. He absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. It really is a great event.
I'd like to meet him and say hi. There's some people I really want to make the time to meet. And if out there, just for the record, man, reach out. Anybody out there, love to talk to people. We just fuck around on the internet, but in person, hey, we love you. We'd really, really love to chew the fat, break some bread, because there's nothing but love in this community. And thank you so much, Stoner.
If you guys want to come to Family Jams this year, it's Saturday, August 9th, and from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. in Simi Valley, man. Some more details, if you can just click on the link or come to my show, I'll tell you. So there you guys go. Great talking with you guys, man.
Saddle up, people. Love you, Stoner. We'll see you back here.
Thank you, bro.
Take care, man. Great show, man.